This is a $100 pair of sneakers. And hidden inside that price is a tax almost nobody can see. A tariff. Now, politicians love to say that a tariff is paid by the other country. China pays. Vietnam pays. You just enjoy your shoes. There is only one problem with that story. It is almost completely false. To find out who really pays, we are going to follow this one shoe, from a factory on the other side of the world, all the way to the box in your hands. Every stop adds a little to the price. So let's follow the money. Our shoe starts life in a factory in Vietnam. To make it, box it, and get it ready to ship costs about $30. From there it's packed into a steel container, one of thousands, stacked onto a ship as long as 4 football fields. Crossing an entire ocean adds only a few dollars. Call it 36. Then the ship reaches the American border. And here, at a little booth you have never once thought about, something happens to the price. This is customs. And before that shoe is allowed into the country, somebody has to pay a tariff. A tax on the shoe, charged just for crossing the line. Let's say the tariff is 40%. That's about $14, taken right here at the border. Our $36 shoe is suddenly a $50 shoe. Then it's trucked to a warehouse and marked up. Sent to a store and marked up again. Until it finally lands on the shelf, priced at $100. Now freeze the whole journey for a second. The factory, the ship, the border, the store. And ask one simple question. That $14 tariff, back at the booth, whose hand actually reached into a pocket and paid it? Here is the part the slogans always skip. The tariff at that booth is not paid by Vietnam. It is paid by the American company bringing the shoe in. Nike, or Target, or whoever ordered it. They write the check to the United States government, right there at the border. The foreign factory never pays a single cent of it. So does that American importer just quietly eat the cost? Of course not. They do the only thing a business ever does with a new cost. They pass it down the line. The tariff gets folded into the price tag. You pay it at the register, baked into that $100, and you never even see it listed. And this isn't a theory. Economists at the Federal Reserve actually measured it. They found around 90% of the tariffs cost landed on American companies and shoppers. Another study went further. Foreign exporters ate about 4%. You, and everyone you know, absorb the other 96%. So, the other country pays, is not a small exaggeration. It is pointing the wrong way entirely. The person at the register is you. And it stacks up frighteningly fast. In 2026, these tariffs work out to roughly $1,300 per household, every year. A tax you never voted on, and never see on a receipt. The overall tariff rate on everything entering America is now above 10%. The highest it has been since 1946. Strip away all the politics, and a tariff is really just one thing. A national sales tax, wearing a disguise. Collected at the border, hidden in the price paid by you. And if this feels like a brand new fight, it absolutely is not. We have run this exact experiment before. 1930. 2 congressmen named Smoot and Hawley passed one of the biggest tariff increases in American history. The goal was to protect American jobs. Instead, other countries hit back with tariffs of their own. Global trade collapsed by roughly 2/3. And the Great Depression got deeper and meaner. Over 1,000 economists literally signed a letter begging them not to do it. They did it anyway. It became one of the most famous self-inflicted wounds in economic history. The toll booth, it turned out, charged the country that built it. There's one more twist, and it is the nastiest of all. When you put up a tariff, the other country does not just sit there and take it. It shoots back. And they aim very carefully. In the last big trade war, China hit one target above all others. American farmers. Soybean exports to China cratered almost overnight. Prices collapsed. Farmers who had nothing to do with the fight were suddenly losing everything. It got so bad the government had to step in with a bailout, about $28 billion of taxpayer money. To rescue the people its own policy had just hurt. So follow the full circle. A tax you pay at the store. Funding a bailout you also pay for. The toll booth, somehow charging you twice. Okay, you might be thinking. Easy fix. Just make the shoes in America. No border, no booth, no tariff. If only it were that simple. Because that shoe was never really made in a single country. The rubber might come from Malaysia, the leather from Brazil, the stitching from Vietnam, the design from Oregon. A modern sneaker is a relay race around the entire planet. And the phone in your pocket is wilder still. It pulls parts from roughly 15 different countries. You can't just unplug from a web like that overnight. Engineers estimate a fully American-made iPhone could cost around $3,500. Because you would not be bringing back one factory. You'd be trying to rebuild an entire global ecosystem that took 50 years to grow. So the tariff doesn't magically teleport the jobs home. Mostly it just raises the price of the shoe, and waits patiently for you at the register. And this isn't hypothetical. You can already see it landing in real prices. In the last couple of years, Nike raised prices. Nintendo raised prices. So did the makers of those viral cups and a dozen kitchen brands. Almost every time, the explanation, somewhere in the fine print, traced back to the same thing. Higher import costs. The companies didn't hide it because they were villains. They raised prices because the tariff was a real cost, handed to them, then handed to you. That is the whole machine, running quietly behind 1,000 everyday price tags. Now, companies are not just sitting back and paying these tariffs. They fight them with one of the strangest games in all of business. It's called tariff engineering. The idea is simple, and a little bit insane. The tariff on a product depends on exactly what the product is. So you slightly redesign it to legally become something cheaper. Converse sneakers have a thin layer of felt on the bottom of the sole. Why? Because a shoe with a fuzzy sole can be called a slipper, and slippers are taxed less. Marvel once went to court to argue that its X-Men action figures were not dolls. Because dolls are human, and toys are not, and non-human toys had a lower tariff. They won. Ford imported vans with seats and windows, so they'd count as passenger cars and be taxed lower. Then quietly ripped the seats back out at the port. Think about how absurd that is. A whole industry of lawyers and designers, paid just to dodge a tax. And every dollar of that effort still ends up, somehow, in your price. Now, none of this means a tariff is always a mistake. Sometimes a country decides it's worth paying more to protect something it really cares about. But that is exactly the point. It is a choice that you pay for. Not a free punishment fired off at someone far away. So the next time you hear that some other country is paying the tariff, you don't need an economics degree to check. Just look down at your shoes. The price tag already knows the truth. And now so do you. A tariff was never a wall that keeps the cost out. It's a toll booth. And you are the one who pulls up, every time, and pays.